Higher Calling Podcast, episode number 20. Today I got my buddy Jason Wayne. Show him the number 20. Number 20, baby.
I got it. I can't turn all the way.
Don't snap your back. My boy's a fellow plant hand, API, philosopher, poet, sports fanatic, and a good friend. What's up, Jay? How you doing, buddy?
Brother, just living large, trying to get allocated to this new scenario. I'm a cat dad. I'm a plant daddy now, house cat.
Okay.
So
yeah, in-house.
Still trying to figure out the roles and responsibilities of what that is, and I go to work every day not knowing what to do. That's not a good feeling.
That's all right. I mean, whenever you come from working shutdowns and outages, and then you go to a 40-hour gig, it's kind of weird because a lot of people they know how to shuffle papers around, just appear busy, and it's kind of like us whenever we started the whole thing. It's like we're balls to the wall and just going chaos. And sometimes
I try to hone my inner George Costanza. If you always look frustrated, people think you busy.
Yeah.
But no, it's all good. It's a change of scenery, up here in Montana. I'm a southern boy, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and we just had our first windstorm. I told you about homecoming. Well, homecoming got cut short because the windstorm came through and knocked down a couple telephone poles, and the lights went out, and trees were down, and anyway, it's a whole new scenario.
So y'all get tornadoes up there, or just windstorms, or what?
No tornadoes because there's not enough moisture, right? There's not enough heat and moisture like we have down there on the Gulf Coast.
I don't know what that means.
It came through. The wind was going down, knocked some trees down, and everybody was freaking out. And I was like, all right, let's just get to the house. I got a big enough truck. Nobody's going to hurt, right?
That's right. But, over there, like that movie Twister, where you just rolling through with the Dodge.
That's right. I got the dually sitting up tall, being mean. But no, it's been a good experience. I got my family with me every day. I get to cook dinner. I've been taking food to the plant that's from our side of the country, and everybody seems to be happy with it. So far, so good.
Heck yeah, that's good, man. They know what to do with that well-seasoned food, or what?
No, they like to put water in it. They like.
Some people like to doctor it up. They gotta doctor it down a little bit, huh?
They like to dull it down. Listen, but I just made them some tonight, and we're gonna see how they handle it tomorrow. We're gonna see.
So what'd you make, man?
Just a simple chicken and sausage gumbo, but in a true fashion, I've been making it for 2 days, just to make sure it was where it was. And I just had some, and the kids said it was good. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, all right, the kids like it medium. So we're going to see what the north of the country likes it.
Yeah, they'll enjoy it. You do the potato salad with the gumbo or no?
I do. You got to put a dollop in the middle. If I'd have made it for y'all, it wasn't hot enough. It ain't hot enough, but I made it for them. So we're gonna see what they say.
So you didn't put the pie on it. You just put the pa.
I put the pa. I put the pi. I put the pi. I stopped at the y.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, whenever you cook it and like ooh, that might be too hot. It's perfect. Because after you refrigerate it and then you warm it back up, that's when it's better. That's when everything kind of.
That's gonna be tonight. But
right.
I refrigerated it last night, so the marrow and everything started, working with each other, talking to each other, trying to be friends. But no, so I'm gonna hit you back personally to let you know how these Northerners feel about the pa.
Yeah. That's right, because I want to hear about their face, whenever they hit it, and they're like, oh, that's good.
No, it's not the first face. It's after. It's when they get done. And like, I need some water. I'm like, nah, you need some milk. It ain't going to be no good.
That's right. That's cool, man. So you got the family up there with you?
Yep.
Back together? That's good. Got a house up there? How long you guys been up there?
I think my first day here was August 26th. So we end October. The goal is 5 to 10 years, before we start hitting the road again. We're gonna see what this first winter be like, because I mean, I'm good in all temperatures above 90, but when you start getting below 25, I start shutting down, right? and they be having negative 15 for extended days, and I'm like, one
Ooh,
day is good, but if I can't feel my fingertips anymore, I ain't going outside. And you don't have to go outside as long as you're on site. I'm like, then I'm your man.
that's right.
Right?
That's it. I'm good. I'll be inside. I'll be in the wind
Yeah,
barrier.
that's right.
Yeah, because whenever the first time I went up to Indiana, being a Southern boy that I am, I had some sweatshirts, I had my FR, I had my Under Armour, and I got up there. And whenever it got into the teens and that wind was blowing, it started to burn my face. A couple of the guys, they went and got some of those insulated FR bibs and some of the FR jackets and all of that stuff. And I was like, man, those are nice. Where y'all get them from? From the co-op right there. And I go over there and they're $300 a piece. And before it got down in the teens, I was like, there ain't no way I'm spending that money on there. And right whenever it got in those teens and my face started burning, I was like, where's that store again?
Where's that? Wait, it's a left on 27th Street?
That's
Is that
right. I go out the gate, left, right there. And
yeah.
look, in Louisiana, working in the South, I never wear that jacket. But when
Mhm.
you up there, just like Cat Williams says, you buy your cold weather gear for there, from there.
Yeah,
And
that's
he
right.
wasn't
That's right.
wrong.
And so all the kids, we still got to get all the kids cold weather gear. You know, one of them still goes out to recess up to
Mhm.
or down to 0 degrees. I'm like, man, he doesn't wear shorts 90% of the time. I mean, it's gonna be
But
a whole new thing.
yeah, and I mean that's the thing is like my buddy was telling me whenever they went to St. Croix, being a Louisiana guy, they're down there and it dropped into the 60s or something or the 70s. And, his kids are walking around with shorts on. They're like, oh my God, man, that's so cruel. You put some clothes on those kids. And, he's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
and like they were like, this weather's great. And he's like, man, it's freezing. And all, all the guys in St. Croix, they jacketed up, pull over and everything. So it's just like, this is great weather. We wait all year for that.
So every day when I go in, I got my hoodie on, because it's like 50 degrees in the morning,
Yeah.
and I got my hoodie on, and I'm feeling good, and everybody else is in a t-shirt, and they're like, "Hey, you're dressed too warm." I'm like, "Nah, I'm used to 95 degrees. Like I know it's been 100, it's been 102 back home right now, and you're talking about 60 degrees. That's jacket weather. That's
Yeah.
Christmas."
I'm acclimated to the South.
Yeah, born and
Yeah.
bred.
Yeah. Cause I'm over here in Detroit right now. Yeah. The weather's really nice. Get up in the morning, like you said, a little jacket. And then by the evening time, it's just pleasant weather. And it's back down in the 60s as soon as the sun goes down. So it's really
That's right.
nice.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Cause I'm kind of built for that stuff. But tell me what kind of role you feeling up there as far as
Well,
work.
I'm a unit inspector. I got 2 hydrogen plants.
Hmm.
So I've been studying on what hydrogen, because as a turnaround hand, I don't care what the equipment does. I really don't. Of course,
Right.
I'm gonna judge it all to the same criteria. But now, as a house cat, I'm trying to figure out what the plant does and what I should be looking for. I've had a couple PSSRs, nothing major so far yet, but we got a little shutdown starting 2 weeks about a catalyst changeover. So I've told them at least I'm gonna feel like I'm at home on a turnaround. Just wind me up and point me in the right direction in terms of
Right.
y'all got this stuff clean. I'm ready to inspect it, and I can tell you what's wrong with it. But now I have to figure out. For years I was a person telling you what's wrong with it. Well, now I got to figure out what I'm supposed to do when somebody tells me what's wrong with it. Now what am I supposed to do? You know what I'm saying?
Right. How you making a
Um,
call?
yeah, it's a little bit different hat, but so far so good. It's a bunch of good people. I cut my teeth there at Exxon Baton Rouge and bigger plants, 500,000 barrels a day. This one is 26,000 barrels a day total, and
Little
I'm like,
smaller.
okay, so what are we doing after Wednesday? You know what I'm saying?
What do we got to do with the rest of our life, huh? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
good, man.
it's been new, and again, you're doing a lot more kissing babies and shaking hands. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Coming in the door.
Yeah. coming
Yeah,
in
you
as
got to
well. That's
figure out
right.
where everybody's at because I had a buddy of mine. He switched over from another plant where they was handling so much stuff. Whenever he moved to this other plant, it was a lot bigger, and he had to figure out who's who and not how to ruffle people's feathers and what to do. And they would just everybody looks at him kind of crazy when they come in the door. So it's just kind of you got to feel everybody out.
And who's maintenance? And we all work for operations, so let's just keep it burning and turning. And
Yep,
as long as there's oil boiling, I think everybody should be happy.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Uh, so I'm looking at your background back there. You got a couple of books back there. What kind of books do you usually like to read? What's your favorite genre?
So my personal favorite genre, just for nonsense reading, is like science fiction, fantasy, that type of stuff.
Mhm.
But I try to make sure I incorporate some nonfiction in there, and you know, to listen to everybody else's story. I got a whole section right here of nonfiction from Larry Elder to to Jalen Rose. I got a couple scriptures right here. A couple random books of interesting facts. So I mean, again, most people know me that anywhere I go, I got a book with me in case, because it's all good to talk, but when everybody gets done talking, I would just rather just read. So let's see
That's
which
cool.
ones y'all can see. So y'all got my favorite basketball college team of all time, the Dream Team, my grandfather-in-law's golf book. Um, just again, uh, the story in my head is always better than the story you can tell me.
Yeah, 100%. You got to make it up as you go.
Yeah, it's the best way. And eventually I don't even there's a say or I say a saying. There's a Wayne family thing that we talk about how eventually if you're reading fast enough you're not reading anymore. The words are turning into movies as you read them. So
Interesting.
so you just as long as your rhythm is good then you're not reading words. The words are just turning themselves into movies.
Nice, nice.
All behind me is sports related. I don't know how that happened. It wasn't by plan. It wasn't by plan. But uh, I try to do 6 non fictions a year is my goal.
Okay, not bad. 6 books a year
Yeah.
ain't bad. Because I used to read a ton whenever I used to be an inspector on the river, and I would always have a book. And at night I'd be inspecting, and I'd be cutting grain against the Louisiana grain inspectors, with the government because they were grading for the elevators. And whenever I had downtime, I would just read, 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 read. And now I don't read as much as I used to. I read, but it's just I really got to be interested in the book. Maybe I need to try some fiction because I struggle now. Because I got books and I bring them with me. My books are well traveled. They're just not well read. They just never.
I get that. I
Yeah,
get
and
that.
so that's the struggle.
So a lot of times, what I do is I'll read 2 or 3 fictions in a row to get me excited to keep reading, and I'll throw a nonfiction in there to learn something.
Yeah,
But since I'm already excited to read and I kind of have a goal, then I know after I get done with this one, I can go back to fiction. Some story about some Star Lord, chopping somebody's arm off on a
yeah,
different planet. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. So what's the best book you ever read? Do you have one?
My number one book is still my go-to. It's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I wrote a term paper over it, and I had to defend it, and ended up getting a good grade in college. But I mean, because it's not fiction, it's not fact, it's gonzo journalism. I can give you a whole different segment over what that is at a different time. But no, so I
Yeah,
got my
that's
favorite
cool. Very
authors,
cool.
and anytime I get in a lull, I try to go back to one of my favorite authors, so it gets me
Right.
back excited to read
Lock
again.
back in, huh?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And it's always
Nice.
easy for me to read sports magazines, and we got a lot of sports going on right now, currently. So as I'm reading online or reading a book, it gets me more inspired to read something else.
That's cool. It's
Yeah.
cool. Yep. Oh, so you got a little sports content podcast you've been doing here recently, huh?
Bro, my uncle and a friend of his, it's called the um what is it called? It's called the Fairweather Fan. It's called the Fairweather Fan.
Fair weather
Anybody
fan.
interested, you can look it out. It's just three old geezers who don't mean nothing talking about sports, talking about what we saw and what we were interested in, and
Uh-huh.
they've used me recently because I've been a WNBA fan since the WNBA started. I know
Really?
I'm the rare specimen in that regard. But I
You
like
the fan
basketball.
you the fan that shows up over there.
I like basketball. I like basketball. One of the
Is that your
strangest
go
stories.
is that your go-to sport?
It is because it's the one I know the most about, right? So it's the one that I don't have to think about. I can watch it and catch up on what people are doing right or what people are doing wrong based on my fanhood. Didn't play
Mm,
professionally, didn't coach professionally, but I can see. Um, and so they've used me to come in and talk about the WNBA, especially as the playoffs are getting started and the awards are getting handed out. And it's been a weird year in the WNBA in terms of more people are being fans for whatever reason, the rookies, this, that, and the other, the controversy. But for those of us that have always been fans, it's just another reason for people to watch. And I mean, it's it's not the same as men's, but it's still just as entertaining, in my opinion. It's
yeah.
different. It's different though.
What makes it different?
Athleticism mainly, and whatever we want to say to that, y'all controversy, whatever the
You find you find they play harder or what?
they um overall it's more even. It's more there's more parity. There's more parity because anybody gets hot in this league right now in its youth stage, and we're only 30 years in versus 100 years in the NBA. It's anybody can hit 9 shots a game. Anybody can hit 6 out of 12. So the team that you didn't expect to win typically could still win in the WNBA versus the NBA. In the NBA, the better team always comes out.
So you feel like it's more competitive, it's more evenly matched across the board.
It's more competitive in the teams that are competitive. Like for instance, for this year, there were 4 teams that were far and away better than all the other teams. And of those 4 teams, I don't think anybody can call a winner because the parity is there now. Finally, after years and years and years, and a lot of these girls, the Caitlin Clarks, the Angel Reeses, the Paige Bookers, the Cameron Brinks, they're the first group of females that have grown up with professional basketball always available to them.
Okay.
So we're seeing a renaissance of women's basketball because these girls have always had the option of going professional. So now we're seeing work ethic come into the fold of who's working harder because there's tons of people who can be talented and God gifted, but who's going to put the effort into? Who's going to be obsessed with the game to be the best in the game?
Yeah, because
Um,
they say whenever a person puts everything out there they have and then they tired, that's when talent actually showed up.
so
Because
my favorite quote in the world is from an Adam Sandler movie. It's ridiculous, and I'm sure he got it from somewhere else. Obsession trumps talent 9 times out of 10.
it's pretty good.
At a
It's pretty
certain
good.
level, we're all talented. Okay,
Sure.
who's obsessed with what we're doing? Who
Sure.
wakes up thinking about it? Who goes to sleep thinking about it? Who
Yeah.
spends every moment they have being obsessed about being better at this skill than everybody else that we know? Obsession trumps
Right.
talent.
Right. Because if you never give up, you're not going to lose. You're going to win if you won't quit. And it's just
That's right.
like Kobe's work ethic.
Mm,
Kobe worked out 4 times a day. That's why.
crazy.
Yeah, he was the greatest. And I mean, I was a '90s kid, so I mean, I still think Jordan was better than Kobe, but I won't knock, that work ethic that Kobe put out there. Because if you're, going out for 4 workouts a day, and people might get 2 if they're doing 2 a days, they're gonna beat the hell out of them. They really will.
We can sit here and name a bunch of players who were more talented than Kobe.
Sure.
talented,
Yeah.
God-given talent. But we will never, Jordan. I'm Jordan. My son's name is Jordan, but we will
Nice.
never see a work ethic like Kobe Bryant again. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's the most unheard of thing I've ever looked into.
You ever thought about getting into coaching or what?
I wish I got coaches in the family. My stepbrother, shout out Andy Durham. My uncle, shout out David Wayne. Coaches in my family. John Durham was almost a coach. My brother coached his kids. I'm about to have my first opportunity to coach one of my kids. I'm
Nice.
excited about that.
That's
But
awesome.
no, in terms of like real coaching, I don't get it in me. I mean, those that can't do teach. Well, those that can't
Right.
do,
Right.
we sit on the sidelines.
That's right. You got to play your role, man. You got to play
Yeah,
your
that's
role.
right. That's right. So as
Yeah.
long
So
as
did you play basketball?
played through high school, nothing
Yeah.
major,
Good.
nothing
Because you
serious.
got a little height to you. A little better than I do.
A little bit, a little bit. It
You
didn't
might
do me
not. You
much.
might not be able to. You might not be able to jump, but I mean,
The problem is, I wish I had my height and my attitude now in my 40s that I had in my teens. It'd have been a different story. But,
Right.
I had
Right.
things
Right.
better to do. I was chasing women and chasing elevations, and you know what I'm saying.
Oh, typical. Typical.
Yeah,
I think I
typical,
remember that
typical.
story.
I wasn't obsessed. I wasn't
Right.
obsessed. I should have been obsessed, and I could have at least gone to, in my opinion, I could at least gone to a Division III school and had some
Sure.
success. But I had
Mhm.
better things to do, or I thought I had better things to do anyway.
Oh yeah, that's just like that
Yeah.
Steve Harvey story he told. He says, "Man, they had one dude, one cat from the neighborhood. All he did was cut grass. We over there going to play. We over there, we going to drink and all that stuff. Hey, you want to come with us?" He said, "No, I got Miss Johnson's grass. I got to cut." Now he owns a grass cutting business. He cuts all the grass in there because he was obsessed. Because he
He
was
was
dedicated.
obsessed. That's
Yeah,
right.
and that's what'll get it done. I mean, like you said, I wish I would have had that dedication, obsession at an early age.
And you only learn
Yeah,
that
whatever
when
it is.
it's necessary. You know what I'm saying? That obsession, that dedication only happens when you feel like it's needed. And
Yeah,
I wish it was needed back then, but it's certainly needed now. That alarm clock goes off every morning at 6. I got to keep moving. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
right. Hey,
Yeah.
1st and 10, baby. 1st and 10.
First
And it,
and 10.
and that's just like me. I think God gave me a gift of gab, is what everybody tells me, and I just like to talk. And like I'm doing this podcast, and it's just practicing, just practicing, just practicing. And
Well, it's
I don't
just
know what's going to
talking.
happen, but
It's just talking.
say
If
again.
it's natural, you gotta play to your natural inclinations. And so
Yeah,
if it's natural for you to talk and want to get the best information out of people, then this is exactly what you should be doing.
sure. And that's
Yeah.
just like whenever we would turn over, we was talking about before the show, we turn over in the BRM, and we just start talking to one another, and it's just completely natural to find people to talk to, and everybody's looking at us like, man, y'all got
Bro, it
something
would
going
blow
on.
people's minds. It would blow people's minds. Like, and actually somebody said, well, have y'all known each other long? I said, nah, about 6 months. but
Never run out of stuff to talk to, man. And the
no.
world's just an interesting place, and it's got all these interesting people. And some people they just sit back and they just quiet and they just in their own zone. And I love to hear stories. I love to talk to interesting people, interesting stories, and just hear and see the world.
So that's something I've been also trying to put together. I've been saying for years, I wish somebody could write a book. Think about
And
how to say it.
inspection stories.
So
I want to get
imagine,
I want to get an episode where we get all inspectors with their
yeah,
best stories on it,
yeah.
and chop it up and put all that stuff together before some of these old bastards die on us, Jason.
And some of the old bastards have already died on us.
I know, dude. Have you been seeing lately, like the amount of inspectors that have died over the last couple of months, bro?
I want to say,
Bless,
R.I.P.
bless,
to Miss
bless their
Tyranny,
soul. Yeah, bless you.
to Miss Tyranny
Rest in peace,
Murphy.
Miss Tyranny. Yeah,
Love,
I met.
love and respect for
Yep,
that girl all day
that's
long.
right. That's right.
And some of the stories. So in my book, I want you to imagine in your head real quick. Imagine a group of 4 inspectors. Y'all been friends for your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
But now these 4 inspectors, I want you to put every story you've heard in a BRM on these four inspectors. So it's not going to be truth. It's not going to be 100% truth, but it's not going to be false either. It's going
Sure.
to be these names have been changed
To
right?
protect innocent bystanders.
Yeah. So I want
No,
to put that. I want to put that together where it's a group of four, and whether it was Rico Reyes' story
yep,
or Dirty Dave's story, it's all going to be on these four people. We're going to name them Chad, and Chad.
absolutely. Hey, because I got stories about a bunch of inspectors,
Yeah.
like Roger Hoffman, rest in peace.
Yeah.
It just like I got stories about him, just like people that passed on, people that you just touch and they're not in the business anymore, or just like some crazy people, and they might not even remember their stories.
No, they probably don't, but we remember them, and that's what's
Right?
important. You
Yeah.
remembering the story doesn't matter. If the people you
Right.
told it to remember it, then you were successful as a storyteller.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually working out here at the marathon,
I'll
and
be seeing.
I got one of these. I got one of the stronghold leads with me, and he actually asked me today, and something happened. He's like, "Dude, you got a story for everything." I was just like, "This is just stuff picked up," and he's like, "Are these real stories, or is this like are these like Theo Vaughn stories where you just kind of fabricate them?" I'm like, "No, dude, this is like real life, and this is
But
just
y'all
stuff
from the
I've
same
encountered."
place, so you and Theo, he's curious about whether y'all do that. I'm sure
I'm
you
just
got a
saying.
bus driving story and all that stuff.
Absolutely, 100%, man. I was
Yeah.
over there at Formosa, and one of the guys in the back, I'm driving a shift change bus, and he's like, dude, he said, I cannot get over. You sound like Theo Vaughn. And I'm like, what the hell's Theo Vaughn? He's like, oh, you got to look him up. He's just got that same dry humor whenever he's telling a story, and it's just funny, and you just hear that raspy voice, and I'm like, is that what I sound like? He said, absolutely. And I'm like, well, okay, I guess.
You sound like you're from the north side of the Pontchartrain. That's what you sound like.
Heck yeah. It's all
Yeah.
good, man. But yeah, we need to get that together. We need to get that book, collaborate on that thing. Because I mean, I know you got some ones, and I'm sure that a couple of other, inspectors. We get Daniel, a couple other inspectors together,
Everybody got
and
a story.
Greg. We got some good stories. I'm sure we can compile some stuff.
So if I can get it and I can get it told the correct way and I can send it to you and I can send it to others and
Yeah,
y'all can edit the way it's told, but I want everybody's stories with a group of four people. Only four people. All
right.
these things happen to this group of friends.
Absolutely.
So I started working
Four,
on that again.
yeah. Four inspectors, two of them from Texas, two of them from Louisiana, that traveled the whole nation, working everywhere, in freaking Israel and everywhere, just compounding stories everywhere.
With a combined IQ of like 87.
87,000, you meant.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
That's awesome, man. So, what's your favorite sports team?
So if I have to go team, it's either the Rangers,
Mm-hmm.
the Astros, or the Dallas Mavericks. But I'm
Okay.
not. I'm not a team guy. I'm a player guy. So as players change positions, as players change
So
teams,
you follow
right?
your players, and wherever they go, that's the team you cheer for.
So there was no reason for me to be a New Orleans Saints fan until Drew Brees got there, and I was the biggest New Orleans Saints fan there is.
Okay. Okay.
So
Makes sense.
again, most often it's the guy, it's the person, that keeps me moving. I love it when one of my favorite players ends up at one of my favorite teams.
Now,
But if
is it the player, the way they play, or is it the character?
it's both,
Okay.
it's a
Yeah.
combination. I give credit to good players that I don't particularly think I would see eye to eye with, and I try to judge everybody. All these people are so far above me, it doesn't matter, but I try to judge them based on how I think I would get along with them if I met them. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Of course. See if you jive with them or not.
So, like, big fan of Kevin Garnett when he was playing. Nowadays, Luka
KG was the
Doncic, big
bomb.
fan of Luka. Kyrie, love Kyrie. In the NFL, it's crazy that Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase all played together for LSU. That is so wild to me,
That's
right?
awesome. And they back at it.
Man, they back at it. So again, I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan this year because some of the players
Okay.
they have,
Okay.
including Justin Jefferson. So it changes. It changes from, especially in football. I'm very fickle. I'm very fickle.
Yeah, and then they got certain players that people just follow, and I'm sure you've seen it or whatever. They had this one video, or whatever, and it's whenever Kevin Garnett was playing, and this dude he just kind of rips his shirt off and he's dancing in the fans, and then Kevin Garnett left whenever he came back, and it was like, nobody knew who he was, whatever. And then his kids started messing with him, and he starts dancing in the fan. Next thing you know, he pulls his shirt off, and he's got Kevin Garnett like written across his chest or whatever it was. And I was like, yeah, he's been waiting for him to come back.
Yeah, he's been waiting. He's been waiting. Listen, so podcasts are big right now. Kevin Garnett, if anybody is a sports fan and y'all like storytelling, he might be the best storyteller in professional sports.
Oh,
Maybe
really?
the best. You need to listen to the first time he trash talked MJ. You need to listen to the first time he got to get on a court with MJ. You need to listen to the first time
Really?
him and Paul Pierce played together. He is a phenomenal storyteller.
That's good, man. And
It's not all,
that's a dying art. You know what I mean?
and it's not all PG. Like sometimes it's rated R, because if you get somebody in a good mood and a good mode and he's telling the story the way he wants to tell it, that's the best telling. It's not always going to be edited. So they're not always,
No.
You need to make sure you listen to it by yourself the first time. But man, he's phenomenal. I'm a huge fan. I was a huge fan of him while he was playing. I think I'm a bigger fan of him now that he's retired.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's he doing? Some philanthropic efforts or what?
So he's got a little podcast. They talk about sports, but but he also, since it's gotten big enough, like Mr. Rogan, he can branch out and talk about other things now. But every sports player has got a podcast now. Everybody, the Up and Smoke or All the Smoke with Matt Barnes and
then they got Club Shay Shay or whatever it was. Whenever.
Yeah. So anytime you can get these adult professional athletes to tell real stories from the locker room, they're going to be good. They're going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like you said, whenever they tell stories and it's not exactly PG, whenever somebody can talk in their native tongue, because
that's the greatest.
I try not to curse
Me
front
too.
of people, and I try not to curse on a podcast, but whenever I tell a story in my native tongue, like working turnarounds, it's just like my tongue kind of changes a little bit because it's just the environment you're in.
I think this podcast of yours, listen, I pray for your success on every angle, but this podcast of yours would be better if you sounded like, Trenton Bailey, or you sounded like Bo Markentale, or you sound like Nico Pavich. If you had that coon ass twang, listen.
Should I go with the full coon ass or what?
Yeah, you should go with the flat accent. You need to have nothing but Bo's and Jacob Johnsons and all those boys on here talking about
from downside by the bayou down there, huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hey,
y'all be known.
Get to shoot them up. Yeah.
Y'all
by
be
the
known.
trot line. Yeah.
By the trot line.
By the trot line over there.
Yeah. That's
bad. Yeah. So, what's the most important thing in life right now?
Brother, the most important thing in life every day is, first of all, the kids' safety. My kids, my family, and everybody has to look at it their own way. But if mine come home the way I send them out into the world every day, that was a successful day for me as a father. I need to teach them math. I need to teach them how to ride a bike. But ultimately, the first step is to make sure they breathe.
That's right.
So my success is I'm here every day. I get to manage that. I get to see them every day. I get to make sure they breathing every day. I get to make sure they're talking to their mama in the correct way every day. I get to make sure my oldest two are girls, and they found a pair of boys. So now I get to make sure the boys are the right kind of boy.
That's right. That's right.
I don't need to be Harvard scholars, but I need to know that when you get angry, my anger is more than your anger, right?
Right. Yeah, but, that's a dad's job, is to protect and preside and provide over, his family, and being there for your children's safety, especially at a young age, is very, very important. How old's your youngest?
Youngest is 9, oldest is 14. So I'm in that crux
Oh
where they're
yeah,
all
you're in a
finna be
good time.
teenagers. Yeah.
Yeah, because my youngest is 14 now, and it's just kind of to the point with teenagers and everything. They don't even want anything to do with me, but
Mm.
they still love me. But it's just kind of like they just like they don't want anything to do. Do you know what the 3 phases of childhood are?
Not off the top of my head. I,
So
I want to hear them from you.
this is the way somebody explained it to me. They said first in your child's life, it's whenever they're born until they get about 12 years old. First, they idolize you. Everything you do is magical. They can't figure out how you did it. They want to follow you. They want to do everything you do. Anything you tell them to do, they're going to do it without question because everything you do is kind of like you're almost like a god to them. And so they're going to follow you. And then the second phase is they bastardize you from age round about 13 to maybe 18 or 19 years old. Nothing you do is right. They could do it better. They can't figure out how a dumb person like you made it so far. And they just know that everything you're doing is wrong and they could do it way better than you. And then when they get about 19 years old, maybe 20 years old, they human.
Mm.
And when they humanize you, it's like, wow, dad was just human. Dad did the best he can. And then they're like, wow, I see what he tried to do all these years. So I went through the bastardization phase on a couple of my kids, and I think I got 2, maybe 3 of them right now in a humanization phase, but I still got 1 or 2 of them in a bastardization phase. So
I,
I
I'm
don't,
just
I don't know,
coming into those phases.
right? I don't know if you hit it yet, but just prepare yourself because
Yeah.
there's not as many hugs. There's a bunch of high fives,
I'm
and I'm
good with
grateful
that.
for
I'm
those.
good with
Right.
acknowledgement. I just want to
Yeah,
be
that's it.
acknowledged.
Right. I just want to be in your life, baby. Huh?
So on that, so I see that, and all of us have our own memories, and I have my
Mhm.
memories of um, who was there, who I was mad at, but I was mad at because they were there. As long as you're seeing, I think my goal is as long as everybody's seeing that I'm giving maximum effort all day
Yes.
long, every
Yep.
day, and whatever I'm doing, whether that's teaching one to shoot a basketball, teaching one to do algebra, taking
Mhm.
one to the school for school dances, whatever. I'm trying to show as much effort as I possibly can,
Yeah.
and that's all I can do. Right? I can't do anymore. I I
All you can do is all you can do.
I ain't a Rockefeller. I can't take you to Tahiti 4 times a year, right? But I can show you that I'm here and that whatever you going through, we gonna go through it together.
Right.
Right. So
No, 100%. And I mean, I kind of been the same way. I've never been able to provide the life of luxury for my kids, but I try to teach them smart things to do and try to teach them hard work and to love people and to help people. And my wife used to get on me because of my spending habits. And, she's like, you so cheap. I said, no, I'm frugal. And whenever my oldest daughter, she was kind of the same way with her cash and everything, and she'd rat hole money away. And she's like, you see what you did to your daughter? I said, what's that? She said, you made her so damn cheap. And whenever I was actually working out at Marathon Garyville, and her and her boyfriend been together for a while, and I was actually working nights, and I went and met with her at lunch, and I said, we had a late lunch and went talk with her. She's like, I was like, so and so, how's everything going? Oh, good. We're thinking about getting in a house, and I'm like, that's a big decision. She's 21 at the time. And I was like, there's a lot of stuff you got to think about: down payment, interest rates, area you're going to live in, everything. And you got to have some money. She said, save. She says, well, we got about $3,000. Yeah, that's not a lot. She said, and I got my little bank account. I've been saving up since I started working. I said, you don't mind me asking how much you got in there? She's like, I got about 13,000 in there. And
ooh.
I was like, okay, high five. I
Yeah.
was just like,
Yeah.
I was like, man, at 21, you got 13 stacks put up in the safe, and I'm just like, go you, and like she's still like frugal with all of that stuff, and like
And the
they're
fact that
living a
she
good
had it
life.
in an account, I had mine in the rubber bands in my sock drawer. You know what I'm saying?
$100 stacks, baby.
Yeah.
Right. But
That's
it's
great.
just
That's
cool to see
awesome.
them. Yeah, it's cool to see them develop, and like my son, like money goes through his hand like water. He just got into
Same.
plants. Yeah, and my middle daughter, she's pretty frugal with hers, and so it's just, but just being there. And teenagers are teenagers. They're always gonna try to find their own way. They got to find their own persona and their own identity. And I was the same way. I thought everybody was an idiot. And
Man,
then,
that's why like, how do you parent the you out of them? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, you can.
Yeah.
It's in them. Hey, and this is the bad thing is like in my son, I try to look for the good stuff because what I see is the stuff I tried to prune out of me. And I just see him and I was like, you're gonna have to learn the same way your daddy did, ain't you, son? And it's just you
So
gotta let him go.
that's something I'm trying to do better because
Mm,
I don't think I give enough credit for the things that I see good. I'm constantly harping on the things I see bad because I want them to correct that. And I need to give more credit on the things that are good before I harp on the things that are bad. You know what I'm saying?
right.
The
Well,
whole
you got to give 10 compliments before you can say one negative thing.
man. And some of them, I got 3, and one of them doesn't like that one negative thing. If I never gave 100 compliments, so I got to build it up to bring it
That's
back
right.
down.
That's right. And it's funny because, and I've learned this later in life. Some people they just want to talk. They don't want a solution to the problem because men are just naturally solution oriented. They hear a problem. Oh, you just got to adjust the carburetor screw a little bit up there. You got to throttle it up a little bit. It'll be running right. It's like, no, I mean, I just want to talk about how it's not running right. It's
Yeah.
just so
And
it's just different.
especially so with your significant other, you can be a hard ass and have that line in the sand. But with your prodigy, with your little ones, you have to find a way to bridge that gap. You got to find a way, or else it all just shuts down, and then everybody's angry when we go to bed. I'm like, let's
Yeah.
start over again
You,
in the morning.
yeah. Well, and I think it was Jordan Peterson said this. He said, if every night you fight with your kid over the same thing, whatever that is, just stop doing it. It's not going
No,
to fix anything, but
no,
you fight every day over the same thing. So at the end of the year, you've got thousands of hours about arguing over the same thing. So just go around it.
and
Just
they don't even remember it. They don't even remember the
no.
fight. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm
But you just know you had an uphill battle.
like,
So
yeah,
So this is
yeah.
me in my 40s. I just try to love them the best I can and just try to encourage them. And what I'm trying to do now with them, being teenagers and they're starting to find their own way. Hey, I love you. I'm proud of you. And I see them do something wrong, and I'm just like, I don't even want to
I'm
see
proud of
if
you, and I trust you, and I
right.
trust
If
you.
if you need help, holler at me, call me, let me know what you
Yeah.
need, and it's seeming to work a little bit better. But it took 45 years.
And I seem to try to find a way to tell stories that I would tell you, but I would tell you in the most obnoxious, funny way possible. I try to
Of
find a way
course.
to tell that story where the message comes through a little bit better.
Right.
Maybe you don't need to know about the 3 hours leading up to the altercation. Let's just
Yeah.
talk about the altercation.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
look, my son said something the other night. I said, and he said something he messed up. I said, you know what you tell somebody with two black eyes, huh? And he said, what's that, Daddy?
nothing.
I said, nothing. Somebody told him twice, and I said, you know what you call somebody with one black eye, son? And he's like, what? I said, a fast learner.
Yeah.
And he
I,
and he kind of and he kind of got it. You know what I mean?
the way I heard the same thing, same thing. What was it? What do you tell somebody with 2 black eyes? You should have listened the first time.
Right, right, right.
Oh,
Hell
that's
yeah,
funny. But it's
that's
still
good.
all of us going through the same struggle. All of us trying to raise people who ain't knuckleheads, who ain't dregs of society, who ain't bringing everybody down, who ain't living on the street, who can go on vacation when they want to every once in a while. And I don't think there is a book. I read all the books. I read What to Expect When You're Expecting. I read There's No Such Thing as ADHD. I read How to Deal with Your Pre-Teenager. I don't think any of them help because they're all so unique of a battle. There might be some common threads. There might be
Everyone's
some,
different.
and there might be some things that you can pick up from it that is similar to your struggle with your oldest and my struggle with my oldest. But ultimately, it's a whole battle. Everybody's a different person. Everybody's a different set of problems.
for sure. And
Yeah.
is my brother-in-law, he he took like a parenting education class, and he was like helping with the kids at the church, and he read this book on parenting, and he seen my kids, and my kids weren't babies or anything, but they were adolescent, and he was just like, oh, when I get kids, my kids will never do that. I will do this and this. And I was like, I can't wait to see how this stuff turns out after you
Man,
read your book and you took these parenting classes. I want to see what happens when your kids have. And then he had kids, and they wild, bro.
all of them went out the window. All went out the
Absolutely.
window.
Yeah,
Because I said so becomes a viable response
absolutely.
to all questions.
That's right. And it just does not work. Because I
No.
said so does not work. You have to
Yeah.
make them love you and respect you and want to follow. I think that's the key. And so, like you said earlier, by you being there and giving 100% on everything, they're gonna see that and they're gonna gravitate towards that because they see that you try. And I think that's what matters the most.
That's the goal. That's the goal. And the thing I say, all three of them, I could pull all three of them in here and say, sometimes there's conversations that I don't have the words right now. So I'll tell them. They all will tell you. I tell them, let's have this conversation tomorrow. Let's have this
Right,
conversation in a week. Let's have this conversation after the next paycheck. Right?
right.
All these conversations, maybe I'm not in the right mind frame to deal with it right now, but we can talk about it, remember it, bring it back up to me. But I don't want to have it right now because I don't have any good words for you right now.
Because whenever I was younger, as a parent, I would strike my kids when I was angry, and the older I got, the more I parented, I realized that I can't strike my kids when I'm angry. I can discipline them, but not when I'm mad because
Right.
I'm not rational. So if there's an argument or something and I'm hot, I'm not thinking. My
Mm-hmm.
my daughter actually has a tattoo, and it says, "When your emotions are high, your intelligence is low." And it makes a lot of
Amen.
sense.
Yeah.
'Cause whenever you're pumped up and you can't think because all you see is red. And so I try not to discipline or make any crazy decisions whenever.
And on that, again, somebody else can quote me better to the emotional hierarchy, right? If you're hot, then you can only see so far. So if you're hot, your first reactions are usually to lash out, whether it's physically or mentally or verbally or whatever. So let's let that circle run its course and let's get down to the
Mhm.
next circle of mentality. Okay, what are we trying to learn from this problem that we just had? So yeah, but I mean it's all the same, and everybody's struggle is different. We all have the same struggle, but we have different circumstances surrounding that struggle.
Of course.
Yeah,
Different challenges. Some people, they
different
gravitate
challenges.
to certain things,
Yeah. So
100%. So how do you keep a positive mental attitude? What do you do to keep locked in?
I'm a little different. The best moment of my day is the first moment I open my eyes. The whole
Hmm.
world is my oyster when I open my
When,
eyes.
when you realize you Jason Wayne.
The little lion is coming
The
back
little
to
lion,
roar.
yes.
Yeah. No,
Hell yeah.
again, I think I try to approach every day as a new beginning. Every day is a new start.
Yeah.
The moment I wake up, I'm as good as it's gonna be, and we're gonna cycle down from that moment. And hopefully, you try to control how far you cycle down from that moment. So if you
Okay.
get to
Okay.
bedtime and you didn't have to cycle down very far, then it was a good day. But if at
Right.
bedtime you had to deal with 3 problems from this person and 3 problems from this person, then this was a harder day than others. So my good mental attitude comes from every day as a new beginning. Just like you said before we started, first and 10. Every moment
Yes,
is
sir.
first and 10 when you
Yes,
wake
sir.
up. Now you might get to 3 p.m. and it's third and 27. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
it's
that's right.
not
That's
looking
right.
good right now. You ready to punt and start over again?
Yeah. And
Um,
I mean, it'd be nice if you won every day, but that's not the way that life's built. And that's not how
no.
you can get stronger either. And it's a hard way to look at it, but in the Bible it says James says we should embrace these struggles
Mm-hmm.
because that's where your faith is built. And I think that that has a lot to do with us, because once we know we can get through stuff, we could steadily pile more weight on our back and we could push further, because
keep
we
pushing.
know we can take that. And that's something that, you put in yourself, you put in your kids, and it's just something, just like you were saying, every day's a new beginning. And I actually talked to another guy, Brandon, on my podcast. He was a CrossFit guy, and he said every day when he goes to sleep, he prays, and he knows that tomorrow, Lord willing, when he wakes up, he's going to have another shot at it. So just like you saying,
Another second, hey, every day is another chance. Every day
yeah.
is another chance, and that's how.
Yeah.
I wish everybody looked at it that way. I wish everybody woke up on 10, and based on your
Mm-hmm.
day, you might go to sleep at 1. You might go to sleep at 1, but you might go to
Right.
sleep at 8 too. You know what I'm saying? But you should be at 10 when you start every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, reading books, trying to go to the gym keeps you mentally centered. I mean, all of us can't travel with our gi and our belt, you know. Um, Man, I be feeling bad about myself when I'm watching your videos. I'm like, oh, he's aggressive hugging right now, and I'm watching football. I'm not gonna say anything to him.
And it's funny because I had one of my buddy. He reached out to me the other day, and he's like, dude. He's like, you're always turned up to 10. You know what I mean? He says you're in another city and you're doing all this stuff and you're doing jujitsu. And he said, I'm stuck in an office job, and I was like, my life is not that crazy. You know what I mean? It's just like I just do the best I can wherever I'm at.
There it is. That's what makes the most. You do the
Yeah.
best you can
Right.
wherever you're at, right? So when I was traveling all the time, you know, when I'm just have me to deal with on a day to day basis, hour to hour basis, I was at the gym twice a day. But
Right.
now I got the kids with me. I'd rather be with them and dealing with their problems and help them learn how to deal with their problems. I still got to find a way to make time for myself in this new lifestyle that I'm embracing, which I love. But I need to figure out a way to whittle out some extra time.
Oh, Robert Schwarma, 5
Mm-hmm.
a.m. Club. Have you read that yet?
No, but I've heard the name. I haven't. I've not read. I've not read the book.
Read the 5 a.m. Club by Robert Schwarma, and it's a really good book. It's actually a fiction book. It's got some fictional characters in there, and it integrates a bunch of stories and about good habits that's built into you. You know, waking up at 5 a.m., early morning workout, cold showers, intermittent
I
fasting, a
love all
bunch of
that.
yeah. But it integrates it, and I actually started doing it 52 days to build a habit, and like I started doing that when we was out there for Formosa, and I started doing it in 2021. I just never stopped doing it, and it's just
And
like,
And I never
and
stopped doing it either until I had this opportunity at 5 a.m. Now I can wake my girls up and help them to get ready for school, and wake my boy up and help him get ready for school. Where
that
I've
just means
traded that.
that just means you got to wake up at 4:30, and you can
Man,
still
but
do
then I'm
that.
not here. I'm trying to work out that schedule right now. I'm trying to work it out as we speak. I promise
Hell yeah, that's what I'm
you.
talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Um.
good, man.
And I mean, obviously, a lot of male success is based on the partner you choose, and if your schedule and their schedule matches, and y'all's goals match
Mhm.
each other. So I want to help her meet
Of
her
course.
daily goals. And if that comes at me not getting to fulfill all my daily goals, then that's still a win in my mind.
Well, you got to prioritize and execute. You got to
Yeah,
figure out what your most important task is in life, and you got to attack that with all your power, all your might, and everything you got in your body. Because if you
that's
don't,
right.
you're not being a man. Because a man has to figure out what's going to be the best use of his time. And being a problem solver like you are is you're figuring out what's the best thing. And the most important thing is our kids,
Right.
because if we go and we bring kids into the world and we don't take care of them, we don't make sure that they develop correctly, we didn't do our job. So
And especially in today, and I'm not finna get into political or societal
we
issues,
can't get
but
into
today,
political stuff.
no, we can, but I'm just saying for this topic, for right now, I mean, when we're fighting the fights we're fighting in today,
Mhm.
I mean, I can even see, my God, I'm finna sound old to myself, but our parents didn't have to struggle with the same things we're struggling with, right?
It's crazy.
They, I mean, as long as I was home before midnight, I was good in the fourth grade. Now I can't imagine my fourth grader being out past 7 o'clock.
Oh no,
So it's a different struggle, but it's still the same fight. It's the same fight. It's just
it
different
is.
parameters, and you just want to
Yep.
raise kids that aren't going to be homeless or horrible human
Yeah.
beings, or
Yeah. I
hopefully
just
they have
don't.
some empathy.
Yep. I just don't want my kids to be so corrupt or so violent or drug addicted or, like you said, or just dead. I just want them to make
And
it through and live a decent life. Be
and I want
happy.
you to think, and I want you to think about what you just said. How low is the bar for us as
Mhm.
parents versus them as parents? Like our parents wanted doctors and
Yeah.
lawyers and politicians, and now we want safety. And for you to make it to 21 years old, like that wasn't even a concern for the generation before. The concern
Sure.
for the generation before was that where you were successful. Well, my concern now is that you're alive, right?
Yeah.
If you
Right.
can make it to adulthood, if you can make it to be an adult without having an underage pregnancy, if you can make it to an adult without having
Yeah.
3 felonies on your record by the time you become 21 years old. So it's again, I'm not saying the fight is harder or lesser, but it's a different set of parameters we're navigating for sure.
No, 100%. I mean, I think a lot of the values got taken out of society and they're not the same they used to be because I think that morality is one big thing that's changed. And once people's moral compass has changed, it's just like free for all.
Hey, so
And
I'm gonna tell you something that's kind of embarrassing and funny at the same time.
oh,
Okay,
good. I love those things.
are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm a Southern boy, born and bred,
Uh-huh.
Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas. I ain't been north of the Mason-Dixon line except for work. A couple of my kids' friends recently are like, "Is your dad gay?" Because I'm
Oh,
friendly. Because I'm friendly. We're in a different
I
part
get
of
it.
the
I get it.
country. I'm
That's
friendly. I
funny.
want to talk to you. Hey, how was your day? What are you doing? Oh my God, let's do this together. Da, 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 da. And they're like, yeah, the guys up here aren't that friendly. The males, the dads, they're all mean. I'm like, yeah, I'm not that way. If I need to be that way, you could tell me to act. But I mean, I'm gonna hold the door open for you. I'm gonna ask you if
Absolutely.
there's anything I can do for you. And apparently I stick out like a sore thumb around
I,
here.
that's that Southern charm.
Yeah. It's
Right.
crazy. It's crazy. But again, you're a product of where you are from, where you were raised, and I wasn't raised here, so I apparently stick out here pretty bad.
Right. It's
Evidently.
oh yeah. And I went to a little spot over there. It's like a little restaurant bar or whatever it was the other night to grab a burger. It's a cool little spot, Shores, right over here in the northeast Detroit. And I kind of my Airbnb, I messed up and we had to book a backup Airbnb, and I wound up getting an Airbnb on 8 Mile and Gratiot, which is really,
There's
I
a
mean, I was
movie
right.
about that, Chad. Come on,
I
man.
was right around the corner from Slim Shady's mama's trailer, I swear. And I was in a very dark neighborhood, you know what I mean? And I was like, I never had anything happen to me, but I didn't really feel safe leaving the doors open, and it was a rough ride to the house. Anyway, I went to this little spot, and I sit down at the bar or whatever. There's 2 seats, and I sit down next to this guy, and I'm sitting there, and I was like, "Hey, man, is anybody sitting here?" He's like, "Well, my friend's on the way." I was like, "Well, cool. When he gets here, I'll move over." And so, me being the Southern guy I am, I start having a conversation with him, and we started talking about Louisiana, Detroit, sports. First time I went to a Red Wings game, me touring the city, doing jiu-jitsu. He did jiu-jitsu. We started talking about all of these things, and just I started telling him a few stories, and he was just being entertained. And so like he didn't want to talk to me. He was staring at the TV with nothing on. And so I was like, this guy needs to hear some conversation. Like he's just minding his business. And like by the time I'm telling him all this story, I'm 45 minutes in, and finally I was just like, man, my bad. I said, by the way, I introduced myself. I said, I'm Chad. He says, of course you're Chad. And I was like, what
Yeah.
does that mean? He said,
The
you're just the
Chad.
yeah. I said, you're the prototypical Chad. I'm just like, God, okay, that's funny.
Yeah, that's good stuff. But again,
But it's
you
it's just
know,
Southern.
and those of us that stand out in our crowd, our group of friends, the ones of us that stand out, we're gonna stand out in other places even heavy. It was
Of course.
crazy. I ain't trying to backdoor you or try to take the spotlight, but
No.
when I was in upstate New York for 6 weeks, it was crazy. I kept getting complimented on my manners, and I was like, I'm a rude, big, dirty Southerner. I mean, I'm just a dirty turnaround hand, and y'all are complimenting me on my manners. I don't know what that
Uh-huh.
means. I don't know how to take this right now.
Right, right.
Yeah.
This doesn't work back home. I don't get that many compliments.
No, it doesn't work back home at all because we all that
Yeah,
way.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, so I know you up there and y'all got the windstorms and all that, and every place has its natural disasters, I guess, in the States. I asked them up here what their natural disaster is, and they said it gets super cold over there for a couple of 6 weeks. But you heard about the hurricane over there in
Mm.
Tennessee and over there in North Carolina, huh? What you
Yeah,
think about that?
man, that's bad. That's bad. You know, and all the conspiracy theories are already thrown out there. You know, nobody can sit behind a computer without making up something. But bruh, that's yeah, you know, I've been through a couple hurricanes myself, and
Mhm.
the old lady, you know, she when we started looking at long term gigs, she did not want to deal with hurricanes. I said, well, the beauty about a hurricane, at least you see it coming for a few days, right?
Right,
A
right.
tornado just drops on you out of nowhere.
Uh-huh.
Um, so up here, and we still not looking forward to our first full winter, especially when they talk about how 3 years ago it was -50 for like 8 days in a row. I'm like, nah, I'm not leaving the house. I'm gonna have to call in. I'm like, nah,
That's
that's
right.
enough. But up here, I think they only deal with like 52 inches of precipitation a year. So being a Southern boy, that's a Saturday Sunday for us.
Right, right.
Um, but no, but prayers to all the people in North Carolina, South Carolina, and I know they got another one coming now. All of a sudden, I'm glad to not have to deal with hurricanes. The last one I had to personally go through was Harvey, and I got to deal with it twice. I
Right.
got to deal with it in Houston, and then I got to
Oh
deal
yeah.
with it in Lake Charles.
Yes,
Um,
indeed.
so I ain't gonna have to deal with that again. We north of the tornado alley. There's earthquakes here all the time. Like there was this one like 2 or 3 days ago, but they're only like 3.4, 3.5, so you don't ever feel it.
This is the tremor.
That's a tremor. I didn't even feel it. I said, if I don't feel it, that was an earthquake. That's a news story.
The water's jiggling a little bit, huh?
Yeah. Um.
Like
No.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah. That's exactly like Jurassic Park. Just a little.
You big into conspiracy theories or what?
So I love conspiracy theories.
You
I
do
want to
too, huh?
make sure that you understand I don't believe them all, but I like to know what you're thinking. I like to know what kind of person I'm talking to. If you telling me the earth is still flat, then
Ah,
all of your categories and opinions are going to get labeled into an earth is flat guy. You know what I'm saying?
right, right, right. Yeah.
I love conspiracy theories because they're fun. It's like reading a novel in real life. It's like a real life novel that you're reading.
Oh yeah. And the other day, because I'm in my 40s and I've seen so much crazy stuff, I'm a little bit into like some of this crazy stuff that's going on in between the freaking COVID and the election crap and just all of the crazy stuff going on. What the turnaround Lee Wade, he was like, man, y'all and y'all conspiracy theories, because me and another one of the inspector we're just talking back and forth. He's in his 50s, you know, I'm in my 40s, and we're talking about all this stuff, and he'd always turn around. I was like, man, I know some stuff's going on, but what can I do? And I was like, I don't know. We're just trying to educate
Nothing.
everybody, right?
Nothing.
And
You can't do
like so,
nothing.
he went ahead and he wrapped up my hard hat in foil, you know what I mean? And I was just like, but it's a lot better because I seen the foil on the ground, and I was just like, man, what are these guys smoking meth on nights? So I was just
I gotta stay up.
I was like, I guess my hard hat wrapped up in aluminum foil is better than that. So I mean,
Yeah.
there's that.
No, so any good conspiracy theory, if it's a good one, then it's based on a couple of real facts that you can look up, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
my best friend in the world believes every conspiracy theory, and I'm like, come on, D, you can't believe them all. You can't
All
believe
of
them
them.
all. You
Right,
can't believe all of them.
right.
That's not how
There's
they
too
work.
many.
If you believe them all, they're not conspiracy theories anymore. You have to
Right.
pick which ones you believe.
You're just in the alternate reality if you believe law.
Yeah. No, but now they're talking about, and I ain't finna get into it because I'm not educated enough on it. But now they're talking about the whole North Carolina flooding was based on there's a lithium
Property
mine they
values. Yep.
won,
They
and
try.
property
Yep.
values, all that stuff, and that's fun to think about, and we'll see how it plays out. And I hope it's not true. I mean, I'm not
I hope
rooting
so
for
too.
it to be true.
So I got a buddy of mine, one of the QCs, and he works for Repcon, and he actually had to go home because of the flooding out there in Tennessee. And he said it's so bad out there. His house was fine, but 2 miles up the street, people lost everything. Thousands of people are dead, and they got actual bodies floating down
Mm,
rivers. And like
mm,
it's not on the news. It's not being shown. And like FEMA's out there, and they're actually confiscating supplies getting brought in. And like he's seen it firsthand, so it's not a conspiracy theory. Like this guy
right.
and like the government, the FEMA is actually stopping people. They're bringing in supplies, and the Cajun Navy is actually coming up there helping out. They actually private helicopters are going in and rescuing people because they're not getting any government help. So, I mean, it could be all conspiracy you want, but this guy actually just went home and he said, "No, it's serious, Chad. It's real, Chad. They like the government's
So,
actually blocking them." And I'm just like,
so
"Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, this is not being reported on the news." And I saw it.
the conspiracy theories for any topic we talk about isn't
Mhm.
what's happening.
Yeah,
It's why is it happening?
right.
So the craziest one for this one, as I go back to this, and I've had conversations with a bunch of people about this. Why is it in? And I'm just asking a dumb question that there is no answer. Why
Mhm.
is it in the UN Accords that we can't use weather altering devices? So does that mean that we have weather
Mm.
altering devices?
Oh, yes, sir.
Right?
Seeding
So
clouds.
those are the whole things, right? And that's what makes
Yeah,
these conversations fun. Not
right.
talking about the loss of life and the loss of property that people are
No,
going
no, no, no,
through,
100%.
but that's what makes these conversations worth having, right?
100%.
But no, that was but just like with all of them, just like with Rita, just like with all the big ones, the beauty of hurricanes, if there is a beauty, is that everybody knew it was coming, right? It wasn't a
Right.
surprise. Everybody saw it was coming 10 days ago, and it's coming here. If you live in Orlando, you need to leave. You know what I'm saying? If you live in North Carolina,
100%.
you need to leave. So now we get down to why did it happen, and what can we do to help the people that are going through the things they're really going through? That's not a conspiracy theory, right? These people are struggling, and these people have lost. I mean, I know you've seen them too, but I saw a whole story where there's towns gone that were there 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
They're not there
100.
anymore.
No, 100%, dude. He was
Yeah,
naming like, all of these cities or whatever, and they're wiped completely out. This
they're
dam just
gone.
burst.
And
Yeah.
so now do you rebuild, or do you let's say the conspiracy theory is real, do you let the people come in and strip mine your lithium? You know what I'm saying? That's why they're fun. That's why conspiracy theories carry water.
Yeah. No, 100%. And just you were saying a minute ago about, you know, laws being in place because or these accords or whatever, you can't, use weather altering things. And that's just like in the Bible. They said that they put laws in place because people wouldn't listen to what they knew were right. They would just do whatever they wanted to do. And just
Mm-hmm.
if you leave people to do whatever they want to do, they're going to come restless and they're going to end up, kind of messing over each other and going a different route. It's just, I don't know the reasoning behind it. I don't know if they did that, but it's insane the way stuff's going. And I just
And
wish that the government, I feel like they're not in place to help people the way that they should be in.
no, it's been 50 years since that ended. You know, the government isn't for us as an individual; it's for
Yeah.
us as a whole, and what they think our our needs and necessities are. Whether it's
Mhm.
helping this person or hurting this person or taking more goods from this person, the government is an entity in itself now. It's not the representation of the people; it's the representation of itself. And how do we expand our own
How do we
well-being?
protect ourselves from that?
Right, right. And I mean, it's
Because I mean, our nation was founded and it had all these rules put in place by these men who saw what it was like to be ruled by another country and the the press that was put on them. And they set up all these rules. And like now it's kind of like, no, these rules were all wrong. We should go a different way. And it's just kind of like, I don't know where we're going.
But on that, so our founding fathers gave us a method to alter our rules based on what we all feel is necessary. But we don't get to. But what you and I, our significant others, our friends, our family, our needs and desires aren't as important to them now as it was when we were founded. So it's not that the system of rules is still the best system of rules that the earth or that written history has seen,
Mhm.
but we've gotten so far away from what makes those rules valid. Okay, so I want to say it was I don't know that it was Mark Twain, but I think you referenced it. Mark Twain said a democracy dies the minute the citizens realize they can vote themselves favors. So when you stop looking at, and man, I hate to use this word, when you stop looking at the greater good, what's good for everybody, and you start looking at what's best for me, these rules and these systems
They're not important.
they're not as important. So um, we've gone away. The melting pot of America has turned into a mixing bowl. Right? It's a salad. It's not a soup. There's you got tomatoes over here. You got cucumbers over here. The cucumbers
Sure.
want more dressing. The tomatoes don't want any dressing. Instead of a melting pot,
I like that.
and instead of a soup where you're seasoning the whole thing together, right? Right. The ingredients of the soup can't dictate how much dressing they get. So sheer number and sheer size has changed how we look at these rules. And we're trying to do what's best for each individual, which if you do what's best for each individual, you're going to end up segregating the mass of the population. Okay.
Yeah, because a house divided against itself cannot stand. And the political system is set to polarize everybody, because I really believe that if everybody came together and they all like-minded, like they would just do away with this whole two-party system, because I personally think the whole thing is just shot.
It's a sham. It's a sham.
Yeah.
So without putting myself on the fence, are you telling me that the two people we have available to be our next president are the best two people we can find? Are you seriously telling me of 330 million people that these two people are the best two people segregated to run the nation?
No. So I was watching a podcast with Chris Williamson and Eric Weinstein, I believe it was, and he said that, now don't get me wrong, you could go conspiracy theory or whatever it is, but he said that the powers that be, we'll just call them the black coats. But these guys, they pick these two people out of all the group that's together, and they say, out of these people, these ones are acceptable. These are the ones that we find acceptable. They're not going to change the system. We can strong arm these people, and we can put one of these people, whoever wins, it doesn't matter who wins, because whichever one wins, we can control this person, put him in power, and he won't take our system and put it up. And the messed up thing was, and I'm not saying Trump is a god or anything like that, but he won by fluke, and it blew their mind because he couldn't be controlled.
Yeah.
And it totally flipped the whole system on its head. And I was just like, and the way he said it, he said he can't win again because they can't let it happen again. And that's what happened.
Well, if he wins the second time, we're about to have, man, listen, I'm kind of hopeful that it happens, because, man, what are we going to see? What are we going to see from an unhinged multimillionaire that has no desire to be reelected again?
Right. Yeah, 100%.
So, in an effort to not sound too cliche, but my favorite political quote in the world comes from Mark Twain. Actually, it comes from Mark Twain. I think the other one, he just referenced it. If voting really mattered, they wouldn't let us do it. Okay?
Right.
The people in charge
Perception.
of the people in charge of the people in charge. And George Carlin had a whole skit about it, about this country being bought and paid for. And the last president who couldn't be controlled by either side got his head blown off in Dallas in a convertible.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all towing a party line. They all doing what they told. They all trying to work to keep their legacy intact,
Of
where
course.
the only good leaders are the ones who aren't worried about their legacy while they're building it. They're worried about it once it's, or they're not worried about it at all. We talk about it when they're dead. So
Yeah.
everybody, since we can go back to LBJ, we can go back to Nixon, Reagan, Bush, Clinton. They're all worried about their legacy. And if you're worried
Sure.
about your legacy, you're not going to be worried about what's best for the country. So I think we're seeing more of that.
Mm.
I think the two people this year are all they're their party's best candidate. That's the way I'm gonna say it. They're their party's best candidate. How can we keep our party relevant? And these are the best two people they've seen to give it to us.
Yeah. And I mean, to me, is Trump selfish? Yes. Is he egotistical? Yes. But to me, what the hell would a billionaire want to be the president for and lose a
Yeah,
bunch of money
amen.
and face all that stuff?
Yeah,
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's some legacy in there, but like I read his book, Crippled America, before he actually whenever he was running, and for the most of the part, like the stuff he said needs to be fixed, he's still running on the same stuff, and he's still saying the same things that need to be fixed.
I
So,
wish. So as a, and I'm a fan. I'm not gonna use the word supporter. I'm a fan.
mm,
I'm a
yeah,
fan. I especially was the
sure.
first time because he was somebody that wasn't
It was
from the
new,
establishment. It was new.
right?
He's not from the
Yes.
establishment, right?
Hey, and my thing is that the whole thing needs to be flipped on its head. That's the only way you can fix it. Is to
Yeah.
take all the Legos and break them on the floor, and you got
And
to
I
build
was
it over.
and I was hopeful for that. I was hopeful for his whole drain the swamp campaign.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
then when he got in there, he kept putting the alligators back in the swamp that were already there, right?
sure,
So, so he had a big idea to drain the swamp, but then he got there and he realized that I have to still do certain things to even have a chance to get my things looked at.
sure.
So just like what you're saying, the system's broken, and I, as a cynic, I'm not going to try to be too naysayer and bring everybody down like Eeyore, but
Mm. Oh, poo.
it's broken. It's broken. It's
Yeah,
broken. And I as a semi-educated country boy, I don't see a way to fix it. I don't see a way to fix it. So as a cynic, I'm not going to cast a vote. I mean, I don't think it's going to change anything. Personally, I don't think either one of them can change anything. If she wants to be an airhead and do all this, she can't do that. If he wants to be a megalomaniac and bomb everybody into submission, he can't do that. Nothing that they're saying can happen. Nothing can change based on what these two people are saying until it changes at a lower level. That's just my 5 second take on it.
fair enough.
Yeah.
So, who do you think's in charge?
I think the people who we don't know their names are in charge. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, but not even the Rockefellers. The people who paid.
BlackRock.
Who's paying Rockefeller? Who's signing
BlackRock.
that check?
Yeah.
BlackRock. I think those people. It's in my mind. I'm gonna say something stupid about myself. Whoever you are, you're Bill Clinton, you're George Bush, you're Barack Obama, you're Donald Trump,
yeah.
you're Joe Biden, and you win in your first moment in the Oval Office, the door closes and a closet door opens and these black robed figures come out. You're like, all right,
Uh-huh.
all the things you said, we might try to do a couple of those things, but ultimately this is how it works and this is what we're gonna do.
You heard that interview that Putin gave, huh? Whenever he said about what happened whenever all the good presidents.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he
So
said
so
all of them came into office and they had great ideas until the men with the black coats showed up. And they
that's
told them
right.
how this
That's right.
thing really goes.
So my
And I was,
problem is I'm gonna say something that's gonna put me on somebody's radar. I love Putin. I think he is a egotistical maniac. But
mm,
the reason I love Putin is because he doesn't care what anybody thinks about him. He cares about what's best for his lot of land that he's in charge of.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with what he does. I don't agree with his moves, but I agree with his mindset. I'm doing what I feel like is best
Yeah.
for the people that are under my care.
The greatest good. I'm
Yeah,
trying to save my people. Yeah. And
right.
what else
And
is
so,
there?
and again, I don't agree with his moves he's making, but I agree with why he's making them. He's doing what's best for his people and his country. I'm sure they have some strife, and I'm sure they have some homelessness and some poverty and things that he could be doing better on. I get it. But on a global scale, Putin doesn't care what France thinks about him. Putin doesn't care what Canada thinks about him. Putin could care
Right.
less what Tokyo thinks about him. He's
Mm-hmm.
doing what Russia needs him to do.
Yeah.
I want somebody that's the same.
Yeah. And I mean,
And
I really, in my heart of hearts, I think that's what Trump tries to do in office. I really
and
do.
that's why
And
I'm still a supporter. That's why I'm still a
yeah,
fan. That's why I'm still a
yeah.
fan.
And I mean, that's the thing is like, if you're running the greatest country in the world, why would you try to be like another country? Or why would you try to give all your money away? Why would you try to do all of this stuff? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
because we've got enough problems here to worry
Every
about.
day, everywhere
Yeah.
you look.
So you got to fix your house first, and then you could help your neighbor fix their house. But if your house is in shambles and everybody in the house hates one another, it's like you can't help anybody else. So,
Until the roads in Louisiana are better, I don't want to send any money overseas.
right, that's not good ever gonna
That's
happen.
what I'm saying.
We just got a swamp down there, you know. Uh, tell me about your spirituality.
Brother Mike, I'm all over the map. I'm all over the map. I
Okay.
think that's why you and I agree, or we have good
Hmm.
conversations.
Yeah.
I was raised in a church. I was raised in Church of Christ, baptized Church of Christ. My grandma was a Pentecostal from Alexandria, Louisiana. My grandfather was a Jew from Philadelphia. Um,
Okay. Okay.
so, I mean,
Did the Waynes come over from that area up there?
from the Ukraine area.
Okay.
The Waynes used to be the Weinbergs.
The Weinbergs. Okay.
The Weinbergs. Um, so my spirituality changes on a day-to-day basis, which I think is true for a lot of people.
Sure. Sure.
Um, um,
New feelings, new information, new areas, new life.
new problems to solve,
Sure.
new
Sure.
hurdles
Sure.
to cross, and how am I going to cross them? Am I going to get some help to cross them, or am I going to cross them on my own? And I know that, so I've read the good book cover to cover. I got good book verses tattooed on my body, but that doesn't
Same.
mean that I always lean on the good book to help me with my problems on a day-to-day basis. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No,
That
it's in
doesn't
a
mean
man's nature to rely on himself.
that I always 100% believe everything the good book's telling me. The good book's telling me a message. It's telling me a message. I need to get the
Sure.
message. Don't miss the forest for the trees. You know what I'm saying? Don't get caught staring at the trees so you miss the forest. So, um, changes. I know I'm here for a reason. I know I'm here to protect the people I'm here to protect. I know I'm here to bring humor and life and laughter to the people I'm here to bring that to. Um, but I try to stay in my own power and not depend on another position's power to help me do anything.
That makes sense. Well, I mean, I think that the good book says that love one another. That's the greatest
Mm,
commandment to love.
that was
And
number one.
whenever you see another person, whenever you can help them, whenever you can communicate them, whenever you can make them smile, whenever you can take care of your kids, your family, your neighbor, whatever it is, when you love one another, you're doing what you're supposed to do. You know, you don't love yourself at the cost of everybody else. You know, you have to take care of yourself, but you have to love other people. And different people go about it different ways, you know, because there's all different forms of love. But I think that's the main thing. And just like you said, don't miss the forest for the trees. You know, there's a whole book about it. And I think in the end of it all, it's a book about characters with characteristics who've done good things and bad things. And you have to sum it all up into one thing. And basically, there's an archetype in there that you want to follow. And there's also archetypical people in there that you probably don't want to follow, because who wants to get turned into a pillar of salt? But
My
at the same
biggest, my personal biggest problem with the umbrella of Christianity, if that's what
time.
we're beating around the bush,
Mhm.
I'm gonna pause this for a second. What is most people's problem with the Dallas Cowboys? What's most people's problem?
Money.
Dallas Cowboys fans are so annoying. Dallas Cowboys fans are
Sure.
horrible. It ain't
Okay.
even the
Okay.
Cowboys that most of us hate. It ain't the Cowboys that most of us hate. It's the fans that we hate. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's hit unpause. My biggest
Okay.
problem with this umbrella is that when we look around and we see the people who are proclaiming to be Christians and proclaiming to be believers of this book, you
See the
can't
direction.
even walk down the street. You can't even walk down the street without a lie. Everything about you is a lie. You don't love your neighbor. You don't. Half the things you're telling me to believe in, you're not practicing. So that's not going to make me believe in it, right? So Matthew chapter 7, don't get me quoting Bible verses, but Matthew chapter 7 talks about doing your good deeds in private, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So
That's right.
every Christian I know wants to post about it online or wants to brag about what they did for charity
Look
or
at what
wants to
I
talk.
did.
Look at what I did. And I'm like, then you're not even listening to the scripture you're trying to get me to
That's right. That's right.
follow. So
Yeah.
my biggest problem with this umbrella is that the followers don't even really believe or don't even really act like what they're saying they're going to do.
Right.
So I don't want to be grouped with those people. I know what the book says. I know what the other books say. I know what the Vedas say. I know what the Quran says. I know what all this says. And if you're going out of your way in whatever one you are, if you're going out of your way to tell me what you're doing, then you're already failing at whatever you're telling me you're doing.
Well, sure. And there's
So
there's actually a saying, and I've known you've heard about it before. It's like, don't toot your own horn. Do you know where that comes from?
yeah.
Yeah, because the Pharisees, whenever they would do something for somebody, give somebody some money or pray for somebody, they would blow their shofar in public and be like, "Look at me!" And it's like, just like in the book, Jesus quoted is like they like to do this, and with their tassels and their horns and so eloquent and all this stuff. And it's just like you said, look at me. And I mean, I've been to churches where people have judged me because of the shirt I had on or the shoes. And it's not like they verbally said it, and they might have. I don't know. I didn't hear them say it, but I could just see the judgment with your eyes. And whenever you
Body
look at somebody,
language.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I get it. You might have nice clothes on, but your heart. I mean, I kind of think your heart might be black as a lump of coal. So, but that's me judging them at the same time. So it's
Now you're
it's
in a
kind.
double crux. Yeah.
See what I'm saying? It's a bad
Yeah.
spot to be in because who wants to go to a spot where they're being judged for what they are, not what they could be?
So to echo something we already talked about, my spirituality is, man, if I can help anybody today, I'm
Sure.
with it. I'm gonna tell you the best compliment I've gotten. Number one, without hands, and I hope she can hear me. My oldest daughter and I, we went to pick up Chinese food for the family. This has been about 2 months ago. No big deal. We went and got Chinese food. I stopped. I got a 12-pack I got a 6-pack of beer. We got the Chinese food. We hit the little lot. We get to the stoplight where I'm trying to turn left to go back the other direction, and there's a homeless guy there. And I reach in the 6-pack. I get a beer. I reach in the change holder. I get a handful of change. I roll down the window. I hand him a beer and a change. I say, "Hey, bro, that's all I got for you, right now." Okay? And Sophia looked at me and said, "Dad, that's my favorite thing about you is your generosity." I said, "Baby girl, if that beer and that 70 cents helps him sleep better tonight, then I had a good day today. Then my role was fulfilled in his journey for this one moment.
Sure.
I have
Sure.
one moment to help this guy get a better night's sleep. I don't care what he does with that beer. I don't care if he's an alcoholic. I don't care what his problems are. If this makes his day, a tiny bit better, then I'm
Right.
happy with everything I just did for him. And
It's a good way to look at it.
we went back to listening to West Side rap, gangster rap, and I was like, I did my good thing, right? But not only one good thing, I've done that same thing for multiple people on a road. But I guess that's my whole thing is I don't, I try not to hang my hat too hard on spirituality or what I believe. If I can help
Sure.
my fellow person get through today, I ain't worried about tomorrow. I want to get through this hour. This hour
Right.
is my problem right now. So,
That's it, man.
and whatever that means, I believe, then I'm good with whatever that is.
Yeah. I mean, trying to be a good person, I think that's the result of it all. And I mean, if you believe in something, or if you read something or follow something that makes you not that good a person, you probably follow.
Yeah, that's right. If you believe things that make you want to be mean to that person because of his lot in life, then you aren't the kind of person I want to even be talking to.
Right.
No,
What's go ahead.
nobody in my close group of friends, the people I would consider my first circle, would ever pass him up with a 6-pack of beer and a handful of change. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I try to surround myself with like-minded individuals.
Right. I like it, man.
Yeah.
What's some of the best advice you've ever been given?
Man, I don't want to give him no credit, but the best advice I've been given is when something happens, be still.
Mm,
Don't do anything. Let it marinate. Let yourself see the offshoots of what this situation, whether it's you got arrested or your girlfriend broke up with you or your uncle just died or somebody just died. Let it marinate. Let it feel. Give yourself time to process before you start making decisions.
it's
So
good.
it's sad that I'm a go kind of guy. I'm gonna wind me up and point me in the right direction. And the best advice I've ever been given is when something bad happens, sit still and don't do anything at all.
It's pretty wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heck yeah. What's your greatest sense of accomplishment so far?
It's still to be determined. Still to be determined. Still to be
Hmm.
determined. Let's table that question for another 4 years. My
Okay.
greatest
Okay.
accomplishments as of right now are that my kids aren't horrible human beings, and we're gonna see how
Right.
that card plays out in the end. As
So you
long as
said
they're as long as they're better off than I was, then I am succeeding.
right, and you said that you got a 5-year plan right now, huh? Where you at for 5 years with the kids? What's the move in 5 years? What's the 5-year plan?
So the goal is 10 years. The ultimate goal is 10 years. Because in
Okay.
10 years, all the kids are grown. Hopefully, they all have their path. Hopefully, they all
Uh
have a
huh.
path
Right.
that they're walking and they're
Yep.
happy to walk along the way, too. I don't want you walking a path that you're mad to walk every day. And then in 10 years, I can hit back on the road. I can work with my boys 2 to 3 weeks a year at a time. And I can work
We'll
when I
have that
need
book
to.
written.
Yeah. I have my book written. Maybe I'm already road horror famous. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking
Um,
about.
but yeah, just again, I try to because the loudest person is the one that you don't let outside, right? The loudest person is the one you hear in your head. And the
Mhm.
loudest person to me is just do the best you can today. It don't matter what tomorrow holds. It don't matter what happened yesterday. I know this is an old quote, but tomorrow's a memory yesterday's a memory and tomorrow's a promise. The only thing we have is the present. That's why it's a gift. I don't know if you've
Mhm.
ever heard that. So
I haven't. I heard it a little bit different, but go ahead.
So what can I do today, right now? What's the best decision? Is it better for me to turn right or turn left? Let's turn left. And is that better after that? Do I need to walk straight? Do I need to turn right? So
Mhm.
I try not to think too far ahead. I really don't. I really don't. I know as a man, we got to make sure that our bills are paid next month.
Of
right?
course.
And that people have something to eat tomorrow. But ultimately, today, what can I do today to get to tomorrow? One step at a time.
Sure.
And that was some of the best advice I've been given too. There's a piece of advice that I've even adapted to my soul. One, the next step.
Yeah.
Is the next step picking up a tool and hanging the shelf? Is the next step going to the store to get groceries? Is the next step going to get something else for a different project? What's the next step? And I don't like to think too far past that.
And I mean, I heard it said just like what you said is you got to live in the present. And I heard somebody say one time, if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're trying to live in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're living in the present, that's the only time you could be at peace.
Yeah.
And you have to live in the moment because how many of us, and I've been there, man, I'm guilty of this, is, trying to live in the future all the time or trying to live in the present. And like, I'm always trying to figure out what I did wrong, what I can do next. And I'm not present in the moment right now. So, you spending time with your kids and you're enjoying that time with them. And even if you're hanging a shelf with them, even if you're going fishing, even if your little girl went, to buy Chinese, you got so many people out there. And I see this all the time and it just aggravates me so much. You'll see people at dinner with their families and not only is the kids sitting there playing on their phone, like the parents are sitting there playing on their phone. I'm just like, why are you not present with your family? Because our kids come into our lives and it's just a short amount of time. It's just a short amount of time in the grand scheme of things. Because I've got one, she's gone. She's married. She's got our first grandbaby. She's got one on the way. And then I got another one. He just started working and he's about to get out the house. He's already talking about, man, when's that camper coming home? Because, man, me and my girl, we're going to go live in that camper. I was like, no, you're not. And then I got another one that's probably going to go to college. And then my youngest, and I'm just like, man, I remember the first one was this big. And I could just remember holding that little blue baby with that little cone head the first time when I was 20 years old. It's just like, and that's the most important thing, to be present, just present.
So back to the very beginning of this conversation, that's what I'm most happy about is that I'm present. I'm present.
Right.
I'm present for everything right now. Right. So for the next 4 years, minimum 4 years, I got a ninth grader. I want to be present for everything.
Sure.
Right? I can't wait for that moment for the Bad Boys 2 moment when somebody comes to pick them up for dinner and I get to throw open the door and threaten them with a gun. You know what I'm saying?
Chitty, bang, bang.
yeah. I'm saying that I'm looking forward to all those things.
Right.
Being present.
That's right. I love it, man. What would your advice be to 18 to 25-year-olds out there?
To quit chasing today. And I say all that to say this. That's terrible. I'm going to contradict everything I just said. Quit chasing today.
We'll just cut out the whole first part of the podcast.
Negate all that. Quit chasing today. Find something for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing I was the most guilty of. That was the thing. That's why I'm not a different social status right now. Is I was chasing today. I was worried about
chasing tail,
my mind
chasing that buzz,
and my bed status, right? Mind status and bed status meant more than anything. And I'm like, what am I doing? Now I'm working 12s in an oil refinery. I could have been giving people prescriptions and cutting off pimples. You know what I'm saying? I mean, don't stop learning and quit thinking about today is what I would say. You don't need to think about today until you're 28 years old. At 28, start thinking about today.
Hard work and dedication.
Yeah.
So you got to start when you're young. And
so here's the whole thing. A friend of mine, I just had a conversation about if you could go back and talk to yourself at 16, what would you say? And my answer was nothing, because nothing I could say would change that little knucklehead's mind.
That's right. 100%.
So it ain't even worth the conversation. But hopefully the 16-year-old Jason has somebody who can tell him, hey, man, there's a long life ahead of you, right? I thought I'd be dead by 30. Here I'm at 43. I'm like, I'm gonna go to work tomorrow and deal with this oil and see if we can keep it from leaking.
No, 100%, man. That was one of my questions when I first started out doing this podcast. What would you say to the 18-year-old version of yourself? And it's like, it wouldn't matter what I told that son
There
going
ain't
because I
nothing
know
I
he
can
wouldn't
say.
listen. No, because I tell you what, I got a kid named Chad Hillstrom right now. He just happens to be a junior, and you know what I could tell him about this much? Because that son gone, he's got to learn it his own way. I've
But
taught him all the lesson, and I had a buddy of mine, one of my mentors, Mike, and I asked him. I said, man, what do you do with him? He says, Chad, you've taught him everything that you could teach him right now. The rest of it is just life lessons they're going to have to learn by themselves because anything you tell them at this point right now, they're not going to listen. But what they want to know, they're going to come ask you. But everything, you've given them all the basic skills. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, pretty much.
the man, what they want to know, they're gonna come ask. That's deep. But what I would say is from somebody who had father, a stepfather, some close uncles, they're not listening, but they're watching. They're watching. So
Set
there's
the tone.
nothing you can say to him. There's nothing you can say to 16-year-old Jason, but there are things you can do around him and show him what is acceptable as a man, what's acceptable as a human, what's acceptable as a husband, what's acceptable as a brother, what's acceptable as a son. So the whole world, the world is in arms over what's a man and what's a woman right now. But what a man is just like you said, we are providers. We have to be the not the role model, but the example necessarily. So just because people I would consider role models aren't the examples I live my life by. The examples I live my life by are the ones that affect my day-to-day basis, right?
Sure.
Going to work every day, doing the best you can every day, making sure this project is where it's supposed to be at the end of the day. Where can we finish it, right? So the thing you can't say anything to your 18-year-old self, but you can show your 18-year-old self a couple things. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually got a compliment a couple of weeks ago. My daughter, she actually, she's 17 right now, and she said that she wrote a paper about me. And I was like, why would you write a paper about me? She says, write a paper about somebody that's successful. And I said, and you chose to write about me? She's like, yeah. She said, I got a 96 on it. I said, I
Yeah, that's success. That's a whole
was
nother
like,
version of
I,
success.
I was like, awesome. I said, I would have wrote about somebody different than me, but I don't, hey, whatever works.
But it's
But
also,
yeah,
so if you're the child of a billionaire hedge fund, your version of success is your parents have enough money to send you to the Keys every
sure.
week. If you're the child of a blue collar worker, your
Yeah,
version of success is that we never struggled for anything to eat. We always
yep,
had clothes. We always had a roof. So
yeah.
that's what struggling right now in 2024 is. What is success? What is happiness? What is the goal for everybody to be?
And you know what a good feeling about it is, Jason. And I mean, I have by no means made it to where money is not a problem or anything like this. But it's nice to be able to go to a restaurant and not have to worry about how much the food costs when I order. I just
Yeah,
order what I want.
I want
And
all the
that's
appetizers. Bring them all.
true. Gargoyle, more food.
I need an extra large Dr. Pepper for that one right there, right? I don't care.
Right.
It's an extra $1. Yeah, you can run it on the bill. I'm good with it, right?
Hey, you didn't know I'm an API?
I thought you knew. Shout out Corville.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, this was fun, man. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna have to get you back on here, talk about how we made it, man. I mean, we get this book together.
yeah, we're gonna get this book together. I'm getting everything. I got my office set out. I got my writing station
Yeah.
set out. I'm starting to work on all those again. So this is 20. Let me know when you get to 40, and we're gonna talk about all the updates.
We're gonna regroup.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
we're gonna
talking
regroup.
about, brother. Yeah, man. Well, it's been good talking to you, my boy. I appreciate you coming on here. Shout out to Jason. Is there any shameless plug? Is there any place people can find you, follow you, help you out any type of way, or what?
I ain't got no shameless plug. my only shameless plug is this little sports podcast I'm doing. It ain't even for me; it's for other
Shout
people.
out to them.
If you can get the Fairweather Fan on YouTube and Facebook, just good people, good Christian people. Their favorite quarterback is Derek Carr. You know what I'm saying? Y'all give that a shot. See if you think they know what they talking about. I think I've helped them out a lot with WNBA, but no, that's my own. Brother, I ain't on social media. I hate social media. I like to scroll and watch prank
No,
videos. You know what I'm saying?
know what you mean, brother.
Yeah.
I do, man. But that's it. Another episode down. My boy Jason Wayne coming on here for episode 20. Show him the jersey.
Number 20. Number 20,
Number 20.
representing.
Had to get him on here for number 20. Heck yeah.
My
Look at
homeboy
that.
in high school was number 4, so when we stood beside each other, it was 420.
It's 420.
It's been in my core since day one.
That's right. But if you guys like this, like and subscribe, give it a thumbs up, check it out, man. I hope everybody finds their higher calling. Jason's doing his thing, living in his higher calling right now. See y'all later, guys.